Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and have not been here before, my name is Kendall and today I'm going to be going over all of the books that I plan to read in the month of June. Don't even ask me how June is already here because I have no idea. I seriously feel like we just blinked and all of a sudden we're halfway through the year. But there are plenty of things happening this summer, vacation-wise, readathon-wise, and it's just going to be a great way to kick off some summer reading. If you've been here before, you probably already know that this isn't really like my official background that I film in most of the time. I'm usually filming behind my shelves in my room, but I am even using this office space to film today just because I am still working on organizing my shelves. So you might see my next two videos or this video and another video in front of this space, but I promise I'm working on my shelves to get back to normal. But I do have a few books on my June TBR. I have some from readathons like I've mentioned before, a challenge that I am trying to challenge myself to do, and I have some that are like arcs, and we're just going to go through all the things. I will explain everything as I go, but let's just go ahead and get into it. So I have seen a few of these going around and I thought it looked really fun and like something I would enjoy doing. So I decided to let Instagram choose some of my TBR this month. And I cannot wait because these all look really good. I have 6 books from 6 different genres, which I left out fantasy and I was shocked. Like, who am I? I'm a fantasy girl and I left out tons of fantasy. But I do have a lot of fantasy that I'm hoping to get to this month, but I'm just not going to mention it. A lot of it is left over from the month of May that I didn't get to, and I'm just pulling it into the month of June. So there are some books on my June TBR that were on my May TBR that I did not get to, and I'm not going to go back and mention them, but you'll probably see them in my June wrap up later on. So I am planning a special vlog for these books, so it may be a vlog that I continue to do throughout the month of June, and I will post it in July more than likely. But let me go ahead and introduce you to the books that you guys voted for. So the first one is my nonfiction book pick. I've been trying to have a nonfiction book going while I'm reading, fiction. Right now I'm reading The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, but I'm almost done with it, so I want to have one lined up to read next. So I did a few rounds of these picks. My first ones were A Rather Haunted Life versus The Office, the untold stories of the greatest sitcom of the 2000s. Well, the winner was A Rather Haunted Life. And then I also did Norse Mythology and A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Murder in Ancient Rome, and Norse Mythology won out for that round. So then it came down to A Rather Haunted Life and Norse Mythology, and you guys chose A Rather Haunted Life, which is a memoir about Shirley Jackson. Now, this one was really hard because the votes kept going back and forth between 50-50, and it actually, when the poll ended, it ended at a 50-50 tie, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So what I did was I was gonna go into the poll results, and whoever was the last person that voted, whatever they voted for was gonna be the book that I picked, and it was this one. So we know how I feel, I think, about Shirley Jackson. I have tried 3 of her books now, and they just aren't my kind of horror books. I don't really vibe well with them. I've tried her short stories and her novels, and they're just not my favorites. But I do love the retellings or the movies and movie adaptations and different things that are drawn from the things that she has written. So I love the TV adaptation of Haunting of Hill House, and there are other books that are being like retellings of The Haunting of Hill House meets something else, and I have enjoyed those, but I just have not enjoyed her novels. But I really want to get a look into her life and see if maybe if I understand her better. Maybe? I don't know. Can you tell I really want to like her? So since this one is a nonfiction, I'm just going to read the synopsis on the back, It says, instantly heralded for its masterful and thrilling portrayal, Shirley Jackson reveals the tumultuous life and inner darkness of the literary genius behind such classics as The Lottery and The Haunting of Hill House. In this remarkable act of reclamation, Ruth Franklin envisions Jackson as belonging to the great tradition of Hawthorne, Poe, and James, and demonstrates how her unique contribution to the canon so uncannily channeled women's nightmares and contradictions that it is nothing less than the secret history of American women of her era. Franklin investigates the interplay between the life, the work, and the times with real skill and insight, making this fine book a real contribution not only to biography but to mid-20th century women's history. Wisely rescuing Shirley Jackson from any semblance of obscurity, Franklin's invigorating portrait stands as the definitive biography of a generational avatar and an American literary genius. So, I'm nervous. I hope I like it. I'm going to read it. I just want to know, if I'm going to like it or not. I did pick this up when I was like picking up a bunch of books by her because I was really convinced that I was going to love them. But if I end up not liking this one, since it was a 50-50 tie, if I end up not liking it and DNFing it, I will pick up Norse Mythology as a replacement. So the next book pick was for a thriller, and it was between A History of Wild Places and These Silent Woods, and the winner ended up being A History of Wild Places. And then it was also between No Exit and Malice House, and No Exit ended up winning. And then in the final round of those, between No Exit and A History of Wild Places, the winner was No Exit. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to get to this one. Everybody is telling me to read this one before I read The Last Word, just because this one did come out before The Last Word. I don't think they have any really connection to each other, but I do know that this one's supposed to be really, really good, and everybody loves this one. So I really want to get to The Last Word, but I promised a lot of people that I would get to this one first, so I'm so glad that this one is the one that won for the thriller. So we are following a college student named Darby, and Darby is driving home, and she gets stuck in this snowstorm. So she pulls over and gets out at this rest stop, and that's basically the only place she can rest for the night and stop. And there are 4 strangers there. They're all just, trying to wait out the storm before driving. And Darby, ends up going back out into the snowstorm for something, and she sees a child locked in a crate in a car. And, that's horrifying as it is. But now she knows that one of the 4 people that are in the rest stop with her they have this child in their car, and she has to figure out who it is, if she can save this child. And I just know from experience, like with thrillers and from what people have told me, this is going to be heart pounding and hard to put down. And I feel like I'm going to fly through this one in possibly one sitting if I really put my mind to it. The next book picks were for my romance book option, and it was between the Happy Ever After playlist and Something Wilder, and the Happy Ever After playlist ended up winning out. And then it was between Meet Me at the Lake and Practice Makes Perfect, and Practice Makes Perfect was the one that won. And in the final round, it was between the Happy Ever After playlist and Practice Makes Perfect. And the winner of that round was Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is the second in a series. You can read it as a standalone, but this takes place after When in Rome. If you haven't read that one, this is following the sister from our male main character in When in Rome and the bodyguard of our female main character of When in Rome. So if you want to get a little bit of background on those characters, I suggest you read that one first and then get into this one. And I think that this takes place in the same town of Kentucky, Rome, Kentucky, I'm sorry. And you want to have that background of all the characters because they're probably going to be showing up in this book as well. But I cannot tell you how excited I am for this book. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh. So if you've met Annie before in When in Rome, she's a very quiet person. She keeps to herself. She runs a flower shop, and she's just really sweet and down to earth, but she does have that kind of introverted side to her. which I can personally relate to. So she has a hard time finding people who connect with her, and she definitely has a hard time trying to find, you know, a soulmate. So she tasks Will, Amelia's bodyguard from When in Rome, to help her become the so-called leading lady so that she can find, you know, her one true love in life and just be better at flirting and getting out there. So Will is tasked with that, and he's also been trying to stay away from Annie and anybody else that would make him want to settle down in this town, because he really doesn't want to. He's just there for Amelia, and as soon as he doesn't have to be there anymore, he's ready to get out. So I'm excited to see what this one is going to be. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of maybe grumpy sunshine, I'm hoping. And I really think we're going to have a lot of, I think it's going to be like building a friendship and, you know, friends to lovers eventually. But I'm super excited for this one. I've heard nothing but great reviews, and I have found out that I love Sarah Adams, and I cannot wait to get to another one of hers. Okay, the next book picks were for my general fiction genre, and it was between The Lost Girls of Willowbrook and The Nightingale. The Nightingale ended up winning that round. And then it was between Anxious People and Notes on an Execution in the next round, and Notes on an Execution won. So then it was between Notes on an Execution and The Nightingale, and you guys chose The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. I am a little nervous about this one. This is one that I had planned to get to in the month of May, but I just never did. I know that this one is over 500 pages. I was trying to see exactly how many pages it is. 564. So this one is going to take me a while to read, but again, it's just one that so many people love, and I really want to try out some more historical fiction. That's why I involved this one in The Lost Girls of Willowbrook, so that I could get to some historical fiction and see what kind of draws me in, because I do love history in certain aspects. That's why I love mythology so much, is because of like the ancient Greek, you know, vibes. I love ancient Rome. I want to see what kind of history, what period of history works best for me when reading. But I did describe this in my May TBR, but I do know it has a really big sister aspect to it, and it happens in World War II. So I think it's going to be really good. I'm just excited to read it. But just to give you a recap of what it's about, it says, with courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristin Hannah captures the epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Women's War. The Nightingale tells the story of two sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance, each embarking on her own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France, a heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It's a novel for everyone, a novel for a lifetime. And sold. You don't have to say anymore. And the next one, you guys know I had to include a horror book just because I'm really getting into that genre lately. So my first picks were From Below and The Whispering House, and The Whispering House ended up winning out. And then it was between The Twisted Ones and The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and The Southern Book Club's Guide won. So then it came down to The Whispering House versus The Southern Book Club's Guide, and you guys chose The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I'm sorry that's such a freaking like long title, but this book, first off, the fact that it's by Grady Hendrix has me already ready to pick it up. Like I just need this in my life now. I absolutely love the way that Grady Hendrix writes. I love his horror books, and I've only read 2 of them, so I'm ready to get into more, and I've heard that this one is a good one to get into. I heard it makes you very frustrated as well, but I did read the author's note, which was funnily enough at the beginning of a book, which I feel like it hardly is ever in the beginning, but it says that this one takes place after My Best Friend's Exorcism in the same exact town, just like years down the road. And I thought that that was really cool. He says it's not a companion novel, but he does recommend that you read My Best Friend's Exorcism. He said he kind of wrote that one from the perspective of a teenager and how they view their parents, and this one is more of parents and how they view their kids. So I thought that was a really interesting concept, and yeah, I can just tell I'm gonna like it by the first chapter. I did read that and it sounds so good, and I want to just read the synopsis for you guys from the book because my words will not be able to do it justice. It says, Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic, her teenage kids have their own lives, her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. Then James Harris walks into her life during the summer of 1993. He makes her feel things she hasn't felt in years, but when children on the other side of town go missing, Patricia wonders if he's connected. Is he a Brad Pitt, a Bundy, or something much worse? How does that not sell you on this book? And I already mentioned that I am getting more into mythology this year because I love it so much, and I had to include a mythology pick. So at first it was between The Wolf Den and Electra. Electra ended up winning out, and then it was between 1,000 Ships and Stone Blind, which I didn't even realize at the time that I did this, but those are her 2 mythology books that she has out right now by the same author. And Stone Blind ended up winning, and so between Electra and Stone Blind, you guys chose Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This cover is gorgeous. Again, I'm very happy that you guys chose this one because this was another one that I wanted to get to in May, but I just never did, and I'm excited to actually finally get to it this month. But again, this is another retelling of Medusa and her story. A lot of people don't really know the whole story of Medusa, and so the fact of people are now writing books showing her true story and who she was, and just putting her in a different light, in a different perspective, really makes me happy. So I'm definitely ready to pick this one up. So those are the 6 books that I had you guys choose for me to read this month, and now I'm going to move on to book club picks for this month. The first one is from Liv's Patreon book club, which is Tea Time Society. I join this book club every month and read the books that she has on it, and the book for June is The Wishing Game by Meg Shaffer, and this one I cannot wait. First off, it's blurbed on the front by V.E. Schwab, and that's enough to tell me right now. The next thing is the cover. So pretty. And I have talked about this one on my I think it was my second quarterly anticipated releases for this month. I talked about that in February, maybe, or I don't even know. I did it, I don't remember, and maybe it was in April. I think it was one I released in April. Anyway, it's my second quarter releases, and this was it. It's very small, like it's smaller than I thought it was going to be, so that was kind of I thought that was kind of different, but it is, let's see, it's only, oh, I didn't know it was only that much. It's only 278 pages. But I know that this was about, there is this children's author who was very popular. He wrote a lot of children's books, and he just all of a sudden vanishes and doesn't write any books. Isn't seen anywhere. He just disappears. But then he comes back and he starts this competition that has a prize apparently that anybody and everybody will want to win. So we're following our main character Lucy, who grew up and she just really was neglected by her parents, and she works as a teacher's aide now, and she meets this little boy named Christopher who was an orphan, and she wants to adopt him, but she knows that she needs to win this competition in order to do that. just so that she can get, like, you know, funds and everything that she needs in order to adopt him. And she meets a lot of different people there. Some of them are very ruthless and they will do anything to win this competition. And it says that this book has a lot of twists and turns, so I'm excited to get to it. It seems just like so many different genres mixed together, with like contemporary fiction, a little bit of magical realism, some mystery thriller aspects. So I think this is going to be a great choice for this month. The next book club is the Cozy Hollow Book Club. I am helping with my friend Rachel for co-hosting this month, along with some other friends of ours. And the book that she has chosen for us to read is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto, who wrote the Dial A for Aunties cozy mystery. And this one is one of my highly anticipated reads of the year. I have gotten into some cozy mysteries. Rachel's one of the cozy mystery queens, so I trust any book that she pulls out and says it's gonna be good or that she's looking forward to. So I'm so happy she asked me to join in with her, because I just feel like we're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. So Vera Wong is this elderly lady who lives above her abandoned tea shop. She doesn't have it open anymore, and all she really does is, you know, sit at home, do whatever she wants, and check in on her son all the time. But one day she wanders down to her tea shop and finds a dead body with a flash drive in his hand, and she ends up calling the cops to take care of the body. But she picks up the flash drive because she thinks that she can do a better job at figuring out this mystery than the cops can. So she finds out, she thinks that one of her customers is who killed this person, obviously, because it happened in the tea shop down below. Well, she is determined to figure out who it is, so she starts, you know, working her moves, getting all friendly with the customers down in the tea shop, and she starts to, like, actually make friendships, which she did not expect. But I'm very excited. I feel like this one is going to be kind of like Finley Donovan vibes, but give me like a Chinese mother. It's just gonna be perfect, and I literally cannot wait to get to it. So the next thing that's happening is that Liv is hosting a 48-hour readathon to kick off the summer on her Patreon, and it's going on from June 9th through the 10th, and so I'm going to be, you know, obviously participating in that. It's super cute. She's so good with graphics. I mean, I guess that's why they pay, you know, she's a graphic designer, so only makes sense. But there are 3 different prompts. The first one is a book with blue on the cover, and apparently I'm just going to go with all the cozy mystery books that I have this month. I have a lot that are set in summer, so that's what is making me want to get to them. So the first one for blue on the cover that I'm picking up is Death at High Tide by Hannah Dennison. This is the first in an Island series mystery. And it sounds really good, and the cover, it looks super cute, and there's a little kitty. So I mean, that's what won me over, to be honest. And this one's a little hard to explain. There's a lot going on, so I'm just going to tell you what this one's about. It says, when Evie Mead's husband Robert suddenly drops dead of a heart attack, a mysterious note is found among his possessions. It indicates that Evie may own the rights to a crumbling Art Deco hotel on Tregarrick Rock, one of the Isles of Sicily. That's not right. Of Scilly? Okay, I don't even know. Some isle off the coast of Cornwall. I don't even know. Still grieving, Evie is inclined to leave the matter to the accountant to sort out. Her sister Margot, however, flown in from LA, has other plans. Envisioning a luxurious weekend getaway, she goes ahead and buys 2 tickets to Tregarrick. Once at the hotel, used in its heyday to house detective novelists, and more fixer-upper than spa resort after all, Evie and Margot attempt to get to the bottom of things, but the foul-tempered hotel owner claims he's never met the late Robert, and the rest of the island inhabitants, ranging from an ex-con receptionist to a vicar who communicates with cats, aren't any easier to read. Obviously, I cannot read today. But when a murder occurs at the hotel and then another soon follows, frustration turns to desperation. There's no getting off the island at high tide, and Evie and Margot are suspects 1 and 2. It falls to them to unravel secrets spanning generations and several of their own if they want to make it back alive. So, 2 sisters you know, trying to work together. I think that sounds really fun. I love that it takes place on an island, so I'm sold. And since this book is taking place on an island, I am using it for the second prompt as well, and which is set by the coast or on an island. So if I finish this one fast and I think I can fit in another book, I will, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this for both prompts. And then the third and last prompt for the readathon is a book that contains an underwater creature, pirate, mermaid, etc. So I had to pick one that Olivia recommends, and it is Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. This one is supposed to be kind of scary, and instead of following mermaids, they're more like sirens. So it says 7 years ago, the Atargatis set off on a voyage to the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax, others have called it a tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled. Some seek to validate their life's work. Some seek the greatest hunt of all. Some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. It says the ocean is home to many myths, some are deadly. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the waves. This is, just listen to some of the words that are used to describe this book. Claustrophobic, deep sea terror, engrossing, adrenaline fueled, science, horror, and mystery, tension up and down, holding a reader in the grip, utterly terrifying. I'm here for it. Scary underwater stuff, that will scare the crap out of me. Do you guys know how scared I am of water? Not like actually scared of water, you know what I mean, like open waters. But if you guys don't know, Myra Grant is actually an alias for Seanan McGuire, and she wrote the Wayward Children series. So I'm so excited to get to this one. The only thing that I'm a little worried about is it's a fairly long and descriptive book, and I have not been able to find the audio, so I may have to purchase the audio if it's on Audible or something, because this is about 434 pages. So for a 48-hour readathon, I think I'm gonna need the audio to go with this one. And then the next thing that's happening is the Sun's Out Books Out readathon is back. This is being hosted by Mackenzie, Liv, Elizabeth, and Keisha. I will have all their information down below so you can check them out. I think they all made posts about it. If not all of them, most of them made posts about it on Instagram with the dates and the prompts and all of that good stuff on it. But it's going to be a 72-hour readathon instead of a week-long readathon this time, and it's taking place from June 23rd to the 25th. They have reading challenges, photo prompts, and a group read, which I'm very excited about. And they're also going to be doing some reading sprints on Olivia's channel on the Friday of June 23rd. So the first prompt is to read a book with water on the cover. And again, I have plenty, you know, that I can read. But I think I'm going to use the book Wait For It by Jen McKinley. This book sounds so good. I have seen this before, but I haven't heard anybody mention it. And then Olivia picked it up, and she was telling me more about what it has in store, like what the actual plot is and about the characters, and I had no idea because I never picked it up myself. And it just sounds like it's going to be so good. And of course it has water on the cover because the main characters are in a pool. But let me just read to you what it's about, because I don't know if you guys have, like, I don't know. I am definitely one of those people, which most of you know if you've been on my channel before, that I am definitely a person who enjoys a lot of plot with my romance books. That's why I love authors such as Sarah Adams, Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, K.A. Tucker. Those are like my go-to people for some romance books. So I really want to get into authors who do that, and I think Jen McKinley may be one of them. But it says, stuck in a dreary Boston winter, Annabelle Martin would like nothing more than to run away from her current life. She's not even 30 years old, twice divorced, and has just dodged a marriage proposal from her ex-husband. When she's offered her dream job as creative director at a cutting-edge graphic design firm in Phoenix, she jumps at the opportunity to start over. Once she arrives in the Valley of the Sun, Annabelle is instantly intrigued by her anonymous landlord. Based on the cranky handwritten notes Nick Dare leaves her, she assumes he is an old rich curmudgeon. Annabelle is shocked when she finally meets Nick and discovers that he's close to her age and uses a wheelchair. Nick suffered a stroke a year ago, and while there's no physical reason for him not to recover, he is struggling to overcome the paralyzing fear that has kept him a prisoner in his own home. Despite her promise to herself to not get involved, Annabelle finds she is irresistibly drawn to Nick, and soon she wonders if she and Nick might help each other find the courage to embrace life, happiness, and true love. I just think that is such a powerful book, and it just sounds like it's going to be amazing. So I can't wait for this readathon to come, because the books that I have picked out for it are going to be great. The next prompt is to read a beach read, and I'm actually going to be using the group read as my beach read, and it is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. So the girls chose this book to, you know, have as the buddy read. It sounds really good. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've just never picked it up. I'm not really a huge fan of young adult, like, contemporary fiction books, but I'm hoping that this one is an exception. It says, it's all fun and games until someone loses their heart. When Meredith Fox lost her sister Claire 18 months ago, she shut everyone out, but this summer she's determined to join the world again. The annual family vacation to Martha's Vineyard seems like the perfect place to reconnect. Her entire extended family is gathering for a big summer wedding, and although Meredith is dateless after being unexpectedly dumped, she's excited to participate in the traditional Fox family game of assassin that will take place during the week of wedding festivities. Claire always loved the game, and Meredith is determined to honor her legacy. But when Meredith forms an alliance with a cute groomsman, she finds herself getting distracted. Meredith tries to focus on the game and win it for her sister, but she can't help falling for him. And as the week progresses, she realizes she's not only at risk of losing the game, but also her heart. And the last book, which I do not have with me at the moment, I need to go pick it up from the library, which I'm probably going to do in just a few minutes, is read a book that gives you nostalgic summer vibes. And I am choosing The Lake House by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a new release. It just came out this year. I'm trying to be better about using my library, so that's why I'm going to get it from there. But this book is supposed to be kind of like a creepy lake house horror book, and that's obviously not like nostalgic for me. Like, I didn't have a creepy lake house. I don't even have a lake house at all. But I used to go to camp every summer, and there was always this lake, and I always thought it was just creepy looking at night, and it was just kind of like, I mean, all lakes are dirty, but it just creeped me out at night. So I thought this would be a perfect book to kind of give me those vibes. And it's also one of my most anticipated reads of this year as well. And then I have 4 other books that aren't part of readathons that I'm hoping to get to this month if I have time. The first one is The Girl from Widow Hills by Miranda. My friend Rachel, who hosts Cozy Hollow, she is really big into mystery thrillers, and she has been trying to convince us to read a Miranda book, and this is one that she has suggested. And I know that this one has, I think it takes place maybe in the summer. I don't know if it takes place in the summer or not, but I do know it has like some water elements, because there are like bubbles and stuff on the cover. So I was hoping that maybe since it's summertime, this would be a good time to pick this up. But it says, Arden Maynor was just 6 years old when she was swept away while sleepwalking during a terrifying rainstorm. Strangers and friends, neighbors, and rescue workers set up search parties and held vigils, praying for her safe return. Against all odds, she was found alive, clinging to a storm drain. The Girl from Widow Hills was a living miracle. Arden's mother wrote a book. Fame followed, fans and fan letters, creeps and stalkers, and every year the anniversary. As soon as she was old enough, Arden changed her name and disappeared from the public eye. Now a young woman living hundreds of miles away, Arden has built a life as Olivia Meyer. But with the 20th anniversary of the rescue approaching, the media inevitably renews its interest. Soon, Olivia feels like she's being watched. She begins sleepwalking again. Late one night, she jolts awake in her yard only to find at her feet the corpse of a man she knows from her previous life as Arden Maynor. The Girl from Widow Hills is about to become the center of the story once again. Okay, I don't think I've read the full synopsis when I picked this out, but like, I'm intrigued. And the next one, I was influenced highly by my friend Elizabeth over at Ponytails and Paperbacks to pick up Smile Beach Murder by Alicia. I don't know how some people say this. I say Alicia. I know some people say Alicia. Bessette, but this is an Outer Banks bookshop mystery, and anything that takes place in the Outer Banks is an automatic yes for me. Plus, the cover just screams summer to me. So I'm very excited to be getting to this one. And I really want to go into this blind, but the very small part at the top says, Callie Paget, a former reporter turned bookshop clerk in the Outer Banks, who was pulled into a deadly web of secrets when a mysterious fall at a lighthouse echoes a tragedy from her past. So all I know is that this takes place in the Outer Banks and that she owns a bookshop. So need I say more? This next book was part of my Instagram TBR tournament, but it didn't win. But I'm gonna read it anyway because I can read what I want to. Also, I just pulled the sticker off of it and it left residue behind, and that ticks me off. Anyway, I really want to get to Meet Me at the Lake by Carley Fortune. I really am very kind of like protective over Carley Fortune because I read Every Summer After last June while I was at the beach and enjoyed it and loved it. So I think I may take this one with me when I go to the beach and read it as well, just because it would give me those nostalgic summer vibes and just put me in a really good mood. And who doesn't want to be in a good mood in the summer? I have heard mixed things about this one, but I have noticed I'm very good at not comparing books to other books. Most of the time, like I'm not going to go into this one comparing it to Every Summer After. I'm just going to go into this for what it is, what it has to offer, and just really vibe with it, you know? It says, Fern Brookbanks has wasted far too much of her adult life thinking about Will Baxter. She spent just 24 hours in her early 20s with an arrogantly attractive and idealistic artist, a chance encounter that spiraled into a day-long adventure in the city. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable. They shared every secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet again 1 year later. Fern showed up, Will didn't. At 32, Fern's life doesn't look at all how she imagined it once would. Instead of living in the city, Fern's back home running her mother's lakeside resort, something she vowed never to do. The place is in a disarray, her ex-boyfriend is the manager, and Fern doesn't know where to begin. She needs a plan, a lifeline. To her surprise, it comes in the form of Will, who arrives 9 years too late, suitcase in tow, and an offer to help on his lips. Will may be the only person who understands what Fern's going through, but how can she possibly trust this expensive suit-wearing mirage who seems nothing like the young man she met all those years ago? Will is hiding something, and Fern's not sure she wants to know what it is. But 10 years ago, Will Baxter rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him now? It sounds good. It was a certain trope that I did not like in Every Summer After, which is why it was only 4 stars for me. But this one might just pull out a 5-star read. And the last book that I'm hoping to get to, which is another cozy mystery that so many people love, and I know that this one has some romance in it as well, so which is what I think I'm really excited for, because I read a cozy mystery earlier this year called Killer Chardonnay, and I loved it, and I cannot wait to get to the rest of the series. But the one that I want to read is Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker. This is the first in a seaside cafe mystery. Again, even when I put this on just like my to be read this summer, people were commenting saying that I needed to get to it and that they really loved it. So I think this one may be coming to the beach with me as well. It says, trouble is brewing in Everly's new cafe. Can she bag the culprit? Life hasn't been so sweet for Everly Swan over the past couple of years, but now that she's back in her seaside hometown and the proud owner of a little iced tea shop and cafe right on the beach, things are finally starting to look up. That is until a curmudgeonly customer turns up dead on the boardwalk. With one of her Hallmark glass tea jars lying right next to him and an autopsy that reports poison in his system, it doesn't look good for Everly or her brand new business. As the townspeople of Charm turn their backs on Everly, she fights to dig up clues about who could have had it in them for the former town councilman. With a maddeningly handsome detective discouraging her from uncovering leads and a series of anonymous attacks on Everly and her business, it will take everything she's got to keep this mystery from boiling over. Again, the detective and the cafe owner reminds me a lot of Killer Chardonnay, so I really think that this one is going to end up being one of my favorites. But those are all the books that I plan on reading this month. Hopefully I'm able to get to all of them. I do have some arcs that I'm going to be reading on my Kindle as well, if I'm able to get to them. So I have big reading plans this month and all the time in the world right now to fill them. So yeah, we will see how the June wrap up goes. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope that everybody is as excited for the summer reads as I am, and I will see you guys in my next video.